So here is the current draft, in particular of District 5. You'll note that that 3.07 is the, simply put, the percentage of what we call deviation. Parts of, so Jim, if you go up to the top right there, yes. So parts of Japantown are included currently in D5, not all. You'll also note up near Euclid Avenue, just to the right, to the left there, I'm sorry, Jim. You'll note that the West Side Court, as we've heard, is not currently in District 5. Booker T. Washington is not currently in this particular draft in District 5. And I only highlight this just to tell you where the lines are, because this particular version of the map is not as easily visible as if you go online and you get down to the street level and you can actually see the street. So I'm just calling out the things that I know are on folks' mind, because we've heard lots of public comment and testimony about it. There are parts of, so north of Panhandle currently is in District 5. It was not in a first iteration or an initial iteration of the map. It currently is in District 5. And then you'll see the inner Sunset on the right-hand part is currently in District 5. There has been public comment arguing both sides of that. There has been public comment arguing both sides of Japantown in or out. There has been public comment both sides arguing Booker T. Washington West Side Court in or out. And so that is where we currently are in the map drawing exercise. We will continue that iterative process. The other thing I would just underscore, and I'm going to now begin to invite folks to come up to the mic lineup, and we're going to invite your questions and or comments. For every move we make on the map, no matter where we make it ripples automatically. And so it's not a zero-sum game. We can't do something that only affects District 5, or only affects District 8, or only affects District 9. As you can see here, we're 1.5% over in 8, 3.86% over in 9. You can read the rest for yourselves. But every time we make a move on the map, it ripples across the rest of the city, and we have to account for it. Because remember, the highest priority for the task force is equalization. So at the end of the day, we've got to equalize. We've got to do so trying to satisfy as many of the communities of interest, trying to satisfy as many of the recognized neighborhoods as possible. But at the end of the day, it has to result in a map that is equalized. And our last comment, and then please begin to line up here. There are those who are arguing right now, because technically, with the exception of District 2, where we're negative 5.28% underpopulated, we could make a few tweaks of District 2. For example, and I'm not saying we're going to do this, but for example, there are advocates who would say put Seacliff, take it out of District 2 and put it in District 1. If we did that, that would take the percentage of District 2 to less than negative 5%, and potentially have District 1 just under 5%. If we did that, we could actually technically say we're done. However, there are advocates who would say plus or minus 5% is way too high, because that means you have some communities, some neighborhoods who have lots more over the median, some who have lots less under the median, and therefore they're at a disadvantage. So it's not as easy as a math problem where because we could have a computer do the math for us and we'd be done, right? But we've got to satisfy your interests as a community, your interests as neighborhoods, your interests as business associations, etc., and try to do all of that and still meet the highest mandate, which is
I think that what I learned from all of this is that we really have to pay attention, and it's so important that we all just constantly remain vigilant, otherwise our interests won't be represented anywhere. So we came into this conversation late, obviously, meeting in January. So we just felt that it was necessary to have this meeting, even though it's not quote-unquote an official meeting, but to definitely allow folks to give some input. Because one of the things that we keep hearing wherever we go is that there is a real concern that Japantown remain a part of District 5 and remain contiguous with the African American community, because the history is rich there, and so we can't divide that community because it is a community of interest. And so I think I would agree that that's an important priority for this. And then, of course, NOPA and some of the issues that are coming up around the important pushback that we received from not just the supervisor, but a lot of the folks in that district. And there were people that were supportive, had good values, but I mean, this was just a housing project that wanted to provide housing for former foster youth. And because they needed additional height in order to finance their project, then people hid behind the height as a reason to oppose the project. But there were people that were literally in tears when we approved it, and we did approve it at the Planning Commission hearing, and we got even pushback from the supervisor, who was relatively new at that time, and who wanted us to continue the item, and we just refused to do it because we thought it was too critical a project. And in District 2, there was another transition age youth project on Lombard Street that Community Housing Partnership was sponsoring, and that was another District 2 project, and it was met with extreme opposition. So it is important that we have representation, and that's more likely to occur when there's, the voting majority is there, because otherwise, as it relates to services and values, the values of the services that are necessary and needed and prioritized in the district may not be by whoever's representing us. I just don't think we can afford to split the West Side courts. I know Booker T is kind of a stretch, and to split Japantown with the other, I think is a little bit unconscionable. 55 Laguna, I worked on that project extensively. Also, I'm more concerned with kind of keeping it as one, actually, whether that's an 8 or a 5. But it's a one project thing, and we worked hard on to make sure that it was 100% affordable housing for LGBTQ seniors, which that wasn't something that was at the table when it first came to us. So whether that's an 8 or a 5, it seems to me that it should remain as one project. To split it, I think might be a little bit challenging for numerous reasons, because it was viewed as one project. So that's just some of my observations and some of my experience, having spent some time on some of these projects on the Planning Commission level. But I just want to thank you all, and I hope you continue to give your emails and input.